But Sean, let's end the podcast going from busts. We're going from the lows to the guys we think can be really high. However, it's a little bit flipped. These are guys that'll probably be drafted too low, and what they do at the next level will be very, very high. If you didn't check out our busts and you're on the YouTube, go and check out, it's going to be right above Sean's head, our bust video after you obviously check out this one. But I'll go to you first, although I've got my first one lined up. Who's your first sleeper in the NBA?
Do you want me to go in order, like top guys to, or do you want me to start like in the middle of the,
I was going to go with like whoever, but I'm still starting with my top sleeper.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with my top sleeper, but not based on where he'll land in the draft. So I'm not saying like...
I'm going the first sleeper that I think will be taken off the board.
I'm thinking the guy that's going to have the, like, is like a total sleeper that's probably should be taken in the first round and won't be. It's going to be Eli Okubo. I hope I'm saying that right. French point guard from overseas. This kid has a very slick-looking shot. He's got a very nice ball handling abilities, has the potential to be a nice passer in the NBA, and this kid can shoot. I mean, this kid might be international Trae Young if you want to use that. Very similar build, 6'2" guard, can shoot from deep, has a very nice flowing shot, comes off his hands super nice. Quick guy. I think it's some people might look at him because hey, Frank Nikitalina, a guy, French guard, just recently came over. Complete opposite of what Frank is. Frank was a defensive monster, had unreal wingspan and height to go with his defensive ability. Eli Okubo, again, a smaller guy, 6'2", possibly a 6'8" wingspan from what I've seen. But he's a guy that I think could step in and possibly be an NBA guard that lights it up. Maybe in the vein of a Dame Lillard, maybe not to that height, but maybe a guy that comes in, drops 16 points per game for an NBA team, and is a very efficient three-point shooter. I think Eli Okubo could be a very nice player in the NBA. I think he should be going in the first round.
No, I know that. I think he was actually one that you guys had going. You and Dave at least had going like the Bulls. One of you guys had him going to the Bulls at 22, and
it was me.
He's one that intrigues me only because like in this NBA, if you can shoot the three ball really well, I'll take a look at you because the three ball, you live and die by it in this NBA. But my big thing is, and this is me personally, I am one of the people that has the stipulation about Euro players, and I know that that's something that some people like. Dave is one of them that's like, get that out of your head, but I can't shake it. I can't shake having that worry of how it's going to be when if he comes over.
It's something that's just going to have to, change exactly.
Over
it's going to have to, it's going to be something that's going to, the players are going to have to come over and be more consistent for that to change for most fans in the NBA. Even though we think Luka's a for-sure thing, there's still people that comment on our videos.
Look at Kristaps,
saying that
no one knew he would be what he was.
No, and even then, Kristaps' career might not be as great as it should be because of his injuries. So again, we might not still have that next European star that takes us into the next light. I think Luka is probably the guy that's going to be there, but I think Eli could be a guy that really sleeps on some people and really impresses.
Now, the guy that I was going to throw out is this guy's going to be taken in the first round. However, I think he is going to be a guy that I think is taken criminally low in the first round. He's a guy that I had right at the tail end of our lottery in our lottery mock draft, and that's Kyrie Thomas out of Creighton. I love this guy because if you're talking about Mikal Bridges and you're like, you know what, I really want him for his 3-and-D, Kyrie Thomas to me is like the, I don't want to say budget Mikal Bridges, but he is the lesser Mikal Bridges, meaning he's going to be drafted lower than Mikal Bridges, but can do the similar things that Mikal Bridges can. They're both juniors, both have that mature outset on things. He's an elite perimeter defender, can turn that defense into transition offense. Yeah, his dribble might not be the best, but I see it as, you know what, I'm going to lock down the guy here, get a steal, and then I'm going to toss it up to that quicker player who's already running down the court to try to get a transition basket. And although the negative is he's got to increase his range, knockdown three-point shooter. Like, give me that. A guy who is a knockdown, spot-up three-point shooter can lock down a guy at the other end. I'll take that even if it's at, like, they're saying, like, some say 26, some say 23. I would take that at 14, 15, 16, maybe even 13 if I'm a team that wants a 3-and-D player.
Yeah, I'm not too massively high on him. I think, again, I think you might be overrating his offensive game a little bit in my mind. I think, again, he does have that ability
Defense is what he's number one.
I think, again, naturally he's going to be a good defender in the NBA, but I wonder what his ceiling is going to be. Maybe he turns into a Terry Rozier. Maybe he turns into a Marcus Smart, where he's going to be a key contributor. But I think, again, we look at both those players, even Avery Bradley. I mean, we see Boston change a team. So if Kyrie's going to Boston, then hell, maybe he does become the next great thing. But I think if he's not on the right team, I don't know if he's going to be able to develop that offensive game to take him to the next level and be a great guard. I think, if he comes in and is a good defensive guard off the bench, I think that's totally fine where he's going to be picked at 26. You had him slotted 14 in the lotto.
Yep.
I think that's based on this kid's going to develop his offensive game behind a three-point shot that's even, and even that three-point shot being near 40%. I think he might not have a smooth transition into the NBA. Again, the numbers he put up were pretty decent, but also this kid was an older player at Creighton. I think he was a junior.
Yep.
Might be wrong there, but
no,
again,
you're right.
Junior at Creighton, again, not against top level competition, might not be able to translate over. We look at Donovan Mitchell, his success at Louisville. I wasn't too high on Donovan Mitchell. I was dead wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about Kyrie Thomas, but also Donovan Mitchell was doing what he was doing at Louisville and had elite athleticism coming into this draft. I don't think Kyrie Thomas has that elite athleticism to really help him become a defining player in this NBA draft class. So Kyrie Thomas, I still look at him as a defensive player. If you think he's going to develop that offensive game, though, absolute sleeper, because again, his defense is already there.
How I look at Kyrie Thomas is, and this is the one thing that kind of makes me a little nervous, is like when I just pulled up on the Ringer what they said, one of the last things on his positives was models game after Kawhi Leonard, and I go, no. Don't compare him to someone that great, because now you're setting the ceiling up here, and if he doesn't hit that, then it's a loss.
That's saying he models his game. That's not saying he is like Kawhi Leonard.
I just get worried with that because that's how some people may see that. But I mean, with Kyrie Thomas, I'm not saying he's going to be this player when I mention him, but to me, if I was a coach, I could say I could mold this guy into be our version of Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, being a guy who can hit from the outside if he extends that range a little bit, and can be a defender at the 2 to where I can say, you know what, you're going to be the guy, like you're going to be the one. We match up on number ones because of what you bring defensively to the table.
I will throw this out there, and this is going to be a guy that's I'm interested to watch, and I want to give a shout out to somebody on Twitter, because I'm just going to go on my next.
Go ahead.
My next sleeper, but it's going to be a guy that has been at least giving me the nudge, because he's going to be at the NBA Draft Combine coming up, and I believe it's our buddy Negro Damas. It is. He's big on this kid, Billy Preston. He's been playing overseas and was playing for Kansas.
He was, Kansas. I was going to say
ended up leaving Kansas and then playing overseas. Our buddy, biochemist, Negro Damas on Twitter. Go follow him if you want to. This guy is 6'10" with the possibility of being a decent ball handler and shooting from the outside. He has a ton to gain at the NBA Combine, really not much to lose. And if he comes out and is absolutely dominant at the Combine, shows that 6'10" range, he could be a sleeper in that second round. I know people were big on what's his name, Jonah Bolden from UCLA. And also played overseas. In last year's draft class, he was selected in the second round, and so far has been doing well in the Sixers organization. Billy Preston might be that guy in the second round where, because he has that body type, because he has that athleticism, because he has that ability to do a ball handle at 6'10", and possibly even stretch out some behind the 3-point line, Billy Preston can be a guy that people sleep on, and he doesn't go in the first round. He could end up being a first-round talent. So I'll throw Billy Preston up there just because I was given the edge because of Negro Damas, but also so far his tape is a little bit impressive.
He's an interesting one because I feel like, all right, I'm going to get a little preachy here, and I don't mean to. The only reason why I think he is in sleeper category is because of something negative that happened to him, that he put himself in that situation where back in November there was an on-campus accident, and a one-car on-campus accident, which they questioned, how did you get the car? Because I guess it wasn't his car exactly. That's why I never played a game at Kansas besides one exhibition game. So
wouldn't go play in Bosnia.
Exactly. For Preston though, that's where I kind of toe the line, where it's like, yeah, where you're at right now, probably a sleeper, but it's like, are you only a sleeper because you technically put yourself in this situation. You never have that incident. You're playing at Kansas. You're one of the guys we're talking about in the lottery and such, and you're not a sleeper. So that's the only thing that I kind of go, when it comes to Billy Preston. But right now, where he is, could be a sleeper in this NBA
Well,
draft.
and I'm not too worried about what he did, at least at Kansas, because again, these kids are young. They might do something stupid, and that if he's able to at least go to Bosnia, at least understand what he did wrong at Kansas, and then at least you'd be able to grow from it. I don't think that's too much of a red flag, because kids are going to do stupid things, especially a guy who goes to Kansas. I don't know his background, but again, if this is his first time away from home, the first time being able to be treated like a star, feel like a big man on campus, and it goes to his head, maybe this is a wake-up call for a kid. I understand, it's a total red flag, but it's something that I think can also grow away from it. It's not like he's got drug problems from what we know of. It's not like he's got alcohol problems like we know of. It's not like a Johnny Manziel situation. It could just be a bonehead decision, like let's say a Baker Mayfield did, where Baker obviously was able to prove that over his years at Oklahoma that he's a great football player, and maybe he just had one bonehead decision where Baker ran from the cops. Billy Preston had that one car incident,
and that's it. I'm not saying that this is like, oh, red flag, undraftable. I just have the idea of you put yourself in this situation, so you shouldn't be a sleeper, but you are because of maybe a choice that you would have made. Guy that I'm thinking about is a guy out of, let me see if I'm going to get the school right. Yeah, I am. Penn State. Tony Carr. I love this kid.
You didn't shut up
I
about him.
love him so much. Like, he is a guy who, he has the size for the guard position. He can spot up from three. He's like, you talk about pick and roll at the next level. He can do that. The only thing is, will that three-point shot translate to the NBA? Because the line is back a little bit. I love this kid. I think that he is not going to be anything like, oh, man, he's the starting point guard for our team. But at best, I think he can be a guy who, we drafted him in the second round. He's our sixth man, or he's that solid point guard coming off the bench when our point guard needs a little bit of a breather. But like his top end to me, solid sixth man, solid role player for a team that they can get in the second round.
Yeah, he's going to be an interesting guy. I just don't think he's going to. And I know he's your sleeper.
Translate?
Not at all. I mean, I think he's a guy that maybe is in the league for 3 years. I think he's a guy that, again,
he is 6'3".
We look at these college kids, and there's consistently those guys that have great offensive outputs. I mean, he's going to need to drastically develop his game. He's going to need to show that he's more than just a guy that drove and scored at the bucket. And again, most college kids these days can shoot a decent percentage from three, and it doesn't mean too much for them. College scores, you need to be able to show like a ton to your game to be able to be seen as a next level pro. I didn't see a ton in Tony Carr's tape where I'm like, this kid is for sure a next level pro. I think that's something that's going to hold him back. So Tony Carr, while he did have some nice impressive showings in college, I know that he was a leading scorer for Penn State for a while. There's nothing that really jumps off the tape for me that says, yeah, this kid's an NBA pro. I think, again, he had some nice moments at Penn State, but I don't think he's a guy that's going to be like, yeah, for sure, next level, he's an NBA pro. So I don't know if it's something, again, that you saw specifically, consistently, that you think is going to translate over, but I think he's just too small for the NBA. And he's not a guy like Trae Young, where Trae Young will be able to work off the ball, shoot from 40 feet out.
Trae Young's open as soon as he walks into the gym.
And also Trae Young has elite passing abilities, where Tony Carr, again, I don't see that elite passing abilities. He's probably going to be a round 2 pick. Even then, I don't know what his NBA career is going to hold.
Like, I mean, I think of his upside, and this might be, he's not exactly the type of play, but like his upside to me is maybe what Jordan Clarkson was or is right now, where it's like, hey, you know what? You're our 2-point guard on this team. You come in with the second unit, more like Clarkson with the Lakers, where you come in with our second unit. You're that change of pace, can hopefully translate that three, but can drive to the basket. But he's not going to be the main guy in a starting lineup for an NBA team. Who's another one you're thinking about?
Threw out Billy Preston. I threw out my boy Eli Okubo. Also want to throw out there, Eli was finished second in voting of the LNB Pro A Young Player Awards last year to Frank Nikitalina. And you look at the players that won that Young Player Award. Frank was one of them. Tony Parker, Boris Diaw, our boy Evan Fournier was one of them as well. So a long line of NBA pros have won that award. So I don't know if he's going to win it this year because it's I don't read French, so I can't read their site. But a lot of those guys who won the best Young Young Player Awards, I was just looking that up, have really translated over. Nick Batum's one of them as well, and also Clint Capella and Jan Mahime. Is one of them. So if you're in that vein, he could be a guy that comes over and is something interesting. I will throw out the other guy I will have, and he is in the top 10, at least for me. No, he's top 11. Colin Sexton. I think he's a guy that people are sleeping on him. I mentioned this on the Fast Break podcast. This is the guy that I'll use at least in the lottery. I think people are sleeping on him. I think the gap between him and Trae Young is much closer than people think, and I think that while Trae Young has more superstar potential, Colin Sexton has more of an NBA game and could possibly turn out to a better NBA pro. I know that was one of the topics you threw out there, but I think Colin Sexton,
I had him go as high as we've ever had him go in the lottery.
Yeah, I think again, Colin Sexton, he is a leader. He has a high motor. He has that fuck you, I'm going to score mentality.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be a deadly shooter from the outside, but also he can work on that. I think he has the mentality to be a point guard in this league. Might not be a great passer yet. So I think the biggest thing that's going to hold him back is if he doesn't become an elite passer at that point guard position, and also if he at least doesn't develop his 3-point shot. Some people look at his shot selection in college, but also he didn't have a ton of teammates on his team. He was clearly the best player on that Alabama team, and it wasn't even close. So I don't really look at the shot selection too much. He needed to do it. He needed to do what needed to be done to get Alabama into the NCAA tournament. He did that, and that was the first time I've seen Alabama in the NCAA tournament, I think, in 10 years.
And the thing I like about Colin Sexton is look at who his NBA coach was. I know it's not like, his college coach was. I say NBA because out of guys like Coach K, I know Coach K has coached like LeBron and that with Team USA, like a Roy Williams, a Bill Self is... Avery Johnson was in the league. He knows what to like. Didn't he
win a title?
He did with Popovich. It was
I'm saying as a coach, didn't he?
No, I don't know maybe as a coach, but I know he was.
No, he wasn't.
Avery Johnson.
He wasn't.
I know that the title that he won was with that Spurs team.
He was
when
1999.
They beat the Knicks.
Yeah, you're right.
Because I recently saw on Facebook they had a video about how that team might have saved Pop's coaching career. And he wouldn't have been the Hall of Famer that we see him as now if he got fired from that job.
Avery Johnson, I think I said Avery Bradley. Avery Johnson was the head coach of the Mavs team that was the number one seed in the West, and then lost to Golden State.
Yes.
So did not win a championship.
But I mean, the thing that I like about that is I'm assuming him and Colin Sexton have had discussions of what to expect at the next level, how to make,
for sure,
like how to be the mentor to this is what to expect from the league, to where if I'm an NBA coach, I know I'm getting someone that firsthand has been spoken to by a guy who knows what to expect from NBA coaching. And I'm not trying to slight Roy Williams or like a Coach K or a Tom Izzo, but that to me can be a huge benefit. I'm going to go away with what you're doing. Like, I'm not picking for sleepers. This is my own kind of stipulation. I don't pick anyone in the lottery.
Well, I know. No, again, I wanted to define where we were throwing out sleepers. I threw out the guys that I think are at least late round sleepers. I'm just thinking some people. I think some people are sleeping on Colin Sexton. I think some people might think that Trae Young by far is the best point guard.
Like
I think that is much closer than people think.
It's also like how some people think we're sleeping on Kevin Knox. How he could be higher.
He's been in our top 10. Like, wake up, people.
We got another comment that we're sleeping on Kevin Knox.
It's like, what do you want him to be? One? Come on. He's not the best fucking small forward in the draft.
I am going to throw this guy out there because this is where I get into my fringe. Like, is this guy a sleeper? Is he going to be a complete player at the NBA? But I basically want to throw him out there to see what you think. Because when I get to him defensively, I think he can be really good defensively at the next level. It's his offense that I think will be a question when we get to the next level.
Bruce Brown.
No. Okay. Point guard from West Virginia.
Oh, Javon Carter.
Javon Carter.
Okay. Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
He's a little smaller than Tony Carr.
I don't see if we're talking about sleepers, I don't think he's a sleeper because I think he's more in that range of Josh Hart, Malcolm Brogdon, where I think he's going to come in. I think he's going to be a guy that can contribute to an NBA team.
But I think, like, will he be a sleeper because he's going to be like a mid-second, but has the kind of potential to where he could be a late first.
It's not certain that he's going to be a second.
And that's why I'm saying he'll be a sleeper, because I think he'll be a mid-second who it's like, wow, he should have went at the end of the first.
I think he's going to be a guy that I think the combine and individual workouts are going to really set him up for where he will end up going. I think he does have the ability, especially to a playoff team that's going to need someone to be able to guard ones and twos. He has the ability to be taken on the first round.
Yeah.
So I think that he's a guy that, he's not going to have a fluid offensive game, but I think he's not going to be a detriment offensively. He's going to be your fifth option when he's out on the floor. For especially a playoff team, but I think he can at least hit some threes at times. He's going to be efficient moving the ball. He might not be a guy that's going to drive and put up 20 points a night, but he's going to be a guy that can probably get you 5 points a night and be a guy that's like a lockdown defender. Maybe like Marcus Smart, just a little bit worse offensively. I think Javon Carter, I think he's going to be a guy it's going to be interesting to see what the next month holds for him because, again, I think that he has the defensive abilities and at least the maturity to be an NBA pro. I don't think anyone doubts that. It's just really, again, we go and talk about, are you taking a basketball player or are you taking the potential? And I think that's where we look at guys like Anthony Simmons. Anthony Simmons has a ton of potential, but Javon Carter right now is a better basketball player than Anthony Simmons, and that's a for sure bet. So it's really based on that. Again, Javon Carter is, I think, one of the older players in this draft. I think he's at like 23 years old. That's another detriment to him because how much can he grow? Are you seeing what you're getting out of him? I think he's going to be definitely an interesting player to watch. I think if Javon Carter comes out and is an NBA pro and plays for 10 years in the NBA as a bench depth player, I totally see that happening because I think, again, his defense, his ability to at least be a leader on the floor, I think that will totally translate to the NBA.
The last guy that I think will definitely be a sleeper, and this is kind of like, this is where you mentioned Josh Hart, and it's not because they played for the same team that I think he'll be similar.
Don't throw DiVincenzo.
No, not DiVincenzo. Jalen Brunson.
Okay.
I think he's going to be a guy that, although he will be a first-round pick, I think he's going to be a guy that's picked like mid to late 2030.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be like, holy crap, he's a solid 10-year pro, not necessarily like a starter or anything, just a solid 10-year pro for a team that's an extension of the coach off the bench and can kind of like not rally the troops, I don't have the word I'm looking for, but like steady the ship where it's like, all right, things are getting out of control. Let me calm everyone down. Let me kind of work the offense here, get everyone facilitated, and be a solid pro for a team where some teams might go, hey man, looking at that draft, maybe we should have took a stab at him at like 19, 20, and he shouldn't have went 28 to whatever team he goes to.
Another guy I want to throw out there is going to be Isaac Bonga, German basketball player, 18 years old.
We're throwing out a lot of Euro players in this one.
They're sleepers, man. People don't know about these guys. I mean, the definition of the sleeper is people that you don't know.
Exactly.
And some people, I mean, I'm not going to say the NBA YouTube draft community doesn't know their players because most of these people watching their stuff, if they're finding us because they want like
the general
never heard of.
Populace. The casual fans.
I don't think we have a lot of casual fans watching us, I'll be honest. But Bonga is a guy that I think, again, 6'9", very young, 18 years old, has the ability to possibly be a guy that's a two-way player in the NBA, has a decent enough shot. Again, he's going to need work on. He's going to be a second-round pick probably, but he's a guy that played in Eurobasket 2017, is got the build, has pretty decent passing as well for a player at 6'9". I'm going to be interested to see how his game develops over there, but he's a very raw player that has the potential to be maybe becomes a guy who's an NBA starter. He's a very raw player. He's going to need a lot of work to be done on his game, but if he puts in that work, again, with his frame, with his athletic ability, he can be a guy that can be very dangerous for an NBA team.
So here's the thing, and I'm throwing this in right at the end. I know we talked about busts already, but I did the cardinal sin of looking at our comments on our lottery. I want to get your opinion on two things real quick. First one, this is from Tristan Taylor. It says, Jackson, I'm assuming he's meaning Triple J, is going to be a major bust. Noah Vonleh 2.0, he says.
Noah Vonleh 2.0.
He said Noah Von, but I'm assuming he means Noah Vonleh.
Yeah, I mean, that would probably be, because I don't think there's any Jackson.
Well, when he said Noah, I'm like, Joakim, but then Von, I'm like, oh, Von.
I don't think that's fair. I mean, again, it's based on expectations. I think that's the biggest thing with busts and sleepers. It's based on expectations. I don't think Javon Carter is technically a sleeper because I think people know what you're going to get out of him. Yeah. It's just really, are you going to gamble on somebody that takes potential? So are you going to make him a sleeper by falling to the second round and falling to a team that's going, he's going to be a future starter for the next couple of years. Like if a team like Boston passes him up in the current contract situation with Marcus Smart, if they pass up Javon Carter, it might be a really dumb move. So I think that, again, it's based off of expectations. If you're expecting Jaren Jackson, we talked about this in the NBA mock draft 5.0, if we're talking about expectations, Jaren Jackson should not be seen as a number one player. And you might be saying, well, why are you drafting a guy like that top 5 overall if he's not going to be the number 1 player on your team? If he's not going to be a star in the NBA? It's not even the potential. He's going to be an elite role player at worst. He's a guy that's going to be a great defender at 6'11", filling in that 4th spot, and could possibly even bring you. He's going to bring you versatility, playing the 4 and the 5, something that is very necessary in today's NBA. He's going to bring an outside shot. Was the best 3-point shooter, at least out of the bigs that we talk about. Ayton, Bagley, Bamba. And then himself, he was the best 3-point shooter out of all of them. He's got nice passing abilities. He's a monster defensively. Offensively, he's going to do enough. If you think he's going to be a number 1 on the team, you're sorely mistaken. But he can be an elite player, at least when we talk about guys like Draymond Green being an elite player. When we talk about, let's even say Nikola Jokic, a different player, different play style, because Jokic is a 6'11" freak who is a point guard. But again, like, we're talking about elite role players that probably aren't number 1s. I think Jamal Murray probably has more potential to be a number 1 on the Denver Nugget team. We clearly know Draymond's not the number 1, but he can be an elite role player that's going to be very hard for teams to stop because of his 6'11" frame, because of his athleticism, because of his defensive abilities, and because of his ability to stretch the floor and not be a net negative offensively. And again, he's going to be a positive defensively. He's a very well all-around player that's going to probably have the potential to be an elite all-around player in the NBA.
Well, and the thing that I think about was when you said a role player, I think about Draymond Green. He's a guy that, went 2nd round, but...
Well, I'm saying at worst.
No, I'm saying, I mean, look back at him. How many teams would take Draymond Green in the 1st round, somewhere in the 1st round, whether it's late, middle, and like he was, I can't remember who it was on Get Up that said it today. It's like I think it was Jalen Rose. He is the ultimate role player. Like, he's not going to be a guy that goes to another team and drops 25 and be your main guy. That could be Jaren Jackson. The only difference is he's not going to fall to the 2nd round like Draymond Green did. Well, someone's going to take him top 10.
The thing is at worst, he's going to be probably an elite role player, like I said. He has, again, the build and body. If he puts in work, maybe he's a number 1.
If his worst is Draymond Green, I'll take it.
Yeah, like, but he's also 6'11", Draymond Green, lean, cut, and fit, totally different.
Oh, I know. But
I know, but I'm just saying,
role player type.
Yeah, I think Jackson, again, it's different players, but I know what you're saying. I think Jaren Jackson, again, it's dependent on your expectations, but I don't see Noah Vonleh and Jaren Jackson at all.
Last 2 I'm going to throw out. This one's kind of a sleeper from our lottery edition, so I'll throw it in there. Broman says Malik Newman. He goes, Malik Newman from Kansas is better than Trey Media Hype Young and Colin Average Sexton.
That is a Kansas bias.
People quick to believe the hype when it comes from the media. Go back and watch all the guards game. Malik Newman is the only NBA ready one. And this was a comment I meant to read last week, but I forgot. So Brandon and I asked the question on the Mo Bamba video, why can't you build around a defensive big? And Charles hit us up with his answer. Meant to read it last week, didn't he? Goes, reasons why you can't build around a defensive big is because they can't usually take over a game when needed. Your best player has to be a great scorer. Scorers can take over games easier than defensive players. When it's a 4th quarter and shit hits the fan, you need your best player to be able to put the team on his back and get you buckets. Like I said, forgot to mention that last week.
That's true, because that's why Marvin Bagley and DeAndre Ayton are going above Jaren Jackson. Yeah. Because Jaren Jackson, again, we don't know what
his more defensive.
We don't know what his top level offensively is going to be. He's better defensively than both of those players are. However, Jaren Jackson's above Mo Bamba just because, again, he's going to bring you enough offensively to be a number 3 or number 2 option. Also, Malik Newman, he's more of a shooting guard, if anything. He's a 6'3" shooting guard that's small. So I do not see Malik Newman's game transferring over. You might say, oh, he shot 83% from the free throw line. He also shot 41% from 3, but also he's playing on an elite Kansas team that has unreal ball movement and has so many players that you have to watch out for. Malik Newman is going to be made look better by all of the other players on Kansas. I don't see his game translating over to the NBA. So he's not better than media hype Trae Young or what was the Colin Sexton
Colin Average Sexton.
Colin Average Sexton. That's a real great one there, buddy.
I also read that because I knew that those 2 nicknames would kind of get you a little triggered.
Well, I'm not triggered. It's just, it's stupid.
And I hate myself for just using
Malik
the term
Mailman
triggered.
Newman right there.
I hate that I just use that, so I'm never going to, if it's okay with you, I'm never going to say the word triggered ever again on a podcast. Newman? Yeah, Newman.
That's why I said Mailman Newman.
But this is where you guys come in. I know you guys can't see me right now because the camera
I know,
shut
you're
off,
like
but
panicking, freaking out. If it goes dead, it
know,
goes dead.
But
we still have lovely listeners on Blog
do.
Talk Radio and iTunes. If you're listening to us on iTunes, don't forget us to rate 5 stars. It means so much for our podcast. And while you're at it,
take them through the housekeeping.
And while you're at it, if you're rating us 5 stars on iTunes, especially, the PTP, also head over to the Fast Breaks page, the Onside Kicks page, the Rick and Johnny page, and rate those 5 stars. It means so much to us. It helps us grow. It helps us thrive here at MVP. And if you're on YouTube, head over and watch the newest episode of The Outcast. They just recently interviewed Kelly Scaletta of Bleacher Report. A great interview from Buzz and Juice. We love those boys over The Outcast. And we want you to have a great time enjoying MVP products. So whether it's on iTunes, whether it's on YouTube, we appreciate the support. If you want to support us in a different way, head over to patreon.com/MoSoPodcast. If you want to be on a podcast, hit up that $10 tier. You pick the topic. You pick the podcast. You at least drive the discussion. It should be a fun time. We also have a couple other tiers that you can check out: the $5 tier, the $2 tier, and the $1 tier. Also, head over to mostvaluablepodcast.com. You can read up on articles. You can catch up on full episodes of our podcast, all of the segments that are posted on YouTube, and also MVP merch. We have it over at mostvaluablepodcast.com. You can pick up an MVP shirt. They are slick. They are black with white lettering. They are pretty. And finally, Ricky, take them home.
Well, and last 2 things I was going to say is Most Valuable Podcast. You mentioned articles. I had the idea of maybe doing a Dennis Schroeder possible trade situations in the future, maybe in the next coming weeks. But thank you guys for watching. I know you can't see me, but I'm still going to point at the camera. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube. Thank you guys for listening on podcast services around the world. And as always, have a good day, everybody.